Happy day, friends. Something that is coming through really strong right now. I'm just sitting here eating my breakfast and I'm like, a light bulb just went off. I was kind of having a conversation with myself about some decisions that I need to make, right? And as I'm like sitting here thinking about the decisions that I need to make or that I want to make, I'm talking to myself and I'm saying, I don't want to think about it, right? I don't want to think about the decisions that I need to make. I don't want to think about the different decisions that are in front of me or the options that are in front of me. I just want to make a decision. And so I'm having that conversation with myself and I'm just like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it because I don't want to overthink about it because then I'll prolong making the decision. And I need to make a decision fairly soon, right? And so as I'm having the conversation, I hear and I say out loud, God will bless whatever decision you make. Okay, God will bless whatever decision you make. And so I'm sharing that because maybe you also need to hear and maybe you also need to be reminded that God will bless whatever decision you make, right? If you make a decision from a place of awareness, right? If there are a few different options available to you, if there are a few different options in front of you, and it's not that you're confused about which decision to make, it's just that in the back of our minds sometimes, let me just pause. Because in the past, we've made decisions that were not truly in alignment, right? We made decisions that did not really resonate with our heart, with our soul, right? But we made those decisions because maybe we wanted to please other people, or maybe, we didn't want to be judged for making this other decision that felt better. And so we've made decisions in the past that really didn't resonate, right? And so in that, I know I for sure have made some decisions that didn't really resonate. And in the moment right before making the decision, I could feel that no, right? I could feel that no, but I went with yes anyway. And in our minds, what we do sometimes is we'll try to justify the yes. We'll come up with all these reasons, and probably all valid reasons, right? Probably all valid reasons. Probably all the reasons that we can come up with for why we're saying yes are valid reasons. But when we, and in the moment, when our spirit is telling us no, and we know that the answer is no, right? We can't see the reason why the answer is no. And so we go with the yes, because I can see all the reasons why yes makes sense, but I can't see why no makes sense, why I'm supposed to go with no, right? So then what does that do? It creates this level of distrust within ourselves, right? We make these decisions. We go with yes when we know and we heard and we felt we should have gone with no. And what it does is it creates this cycle of it pushes us into this space of not listening to ourselves, right? Of not hearing ourselves clearly, of not listening to ourselves. So then we fall into a cycle. Sometimes it's a short cycle, sometimes it's a long cycle, but we sometimes fall into these cycles where, okay, I made this decision, I went with yes, even though I knew I was supposed to go with no. Okay, well, now I went with yes, so let me just roll with it. Let me just play the game, right? And so what that created for us is this level of distrust within ourselves, right? So anytime after making that decision, after going with yes when we should have gone with no, or maybe after going with no when we should have gone with yes, right? So what happens is spirit, God will send these little messages, these little synchronicities, these signs into our lives. And sometimes, and then at that point, we're not able to recognize them. We're not able to see them, or we see them and we're like, nah, And God keeps sending the messages, keeps sending the signs. And then what happens is the signs start to fall back because we're not listening, because we're not trusting that voice. So if you are in that space, right, of, okay, I made this decision, even though I know I should have gone with a different decision, or even though my spirit in that moment, I basically, even though I disobeyed my spirit, or even though I failed to honor what really resonated. And so now there's this, you're being asked to make a new decision so that you can come out of that space, so that you can come out of that cycle, right? Sometimes we'll be in a space, I know for me, and it's easier, right? In the past, it was easier to self-sabotage a certain situation, right? Because I didn't want to disappoint other people, or, that people pleasing cycle, that people pleasing pattern. So instead of communicating, instead of honoring my feelings and communicating my feelings, which because wow. So instead of honoring my feelings, right? And instead of communicating my feelings, I would sabotage. So that's a pattern, that's a cycle that we're coming out of, right? We've been talking about spiritual initiation. So as we're going through this spiritual initiation, that's a pattern and a cycle that we're coming out of. We no longer have to, because we are aware of ourselves, because we are aware and we know how to listen to ourselves, and we know how to honor what's true and what's real and what's right and what resonates, right? Because we've been learning how to do that, we're coming out of that cycle, out of that pattern where we had a tendency to sabotage, right? Instead of speaking up, instead of honoring our voices, instead of letting our voices be heard, instead of saying, okay, I have to separate myself from this, we would just sabotage. That cycle is over. That pattern is ending, right? So now that's where we come back to, if you are in a space where you are needing to make some decisions, God is going to honor whichever decision you make. So there could be 2 or 3 options available to you in front of you that really resonate, right? That really resonate and speak to your heart, speak to your soul. And so there's this message of, don't prolong the process of making a decision, because then what you're going to do is you're going to create chaos. You're going to create confusion. You're going to create, then that feeling of distrust is going to come back up, right? And you don't want to open the door for that feeling of distrust to come back through, right? So you don't want to make an impulsive decision, but you want to make a decision fairly quickly, right? Not an impulsive decision, but you want to see the options before you, and you want to trust yourself. You just need to trust yourself, right? I see these 3 options or however many options before me. I'm going to go with this decision because it feels good. That if I go with that decision, it also feels good, but I'm going to go with this decision because it feels good. And here's the thing, because you are living with this awareness, because you are tuning in to your conscious self, because you are allowing your conscious self to guide you, to direct your steps, right? When you make that decision, when you go in that direction, if something isn't right, or if it no longer resonates, you'll be guided to make a new decision, right? And I think it all has to do with the fear of failure, right? If I make this decision and then I fail, what am I going to do? You're going to make a new decision, right? It's as simple as that. If you make a new decision and it doesn't work out, you're just going to make a new decision, right? It's not this cut and dry process, right? We're always being guided. We're always being directed. Our steps, every step that we take, right, is being ordered. Every step is ordered. And so we just have to get into this space of really trusting that voice, right? Of really trusting our inner knowing, of really trusting what's sometimes referred to as that inner GPS system, right? We have to trust that system. Because if the GPS system says go left, and I go left, and I'm going in that direction for a while, and then a few months down the road, the GPS system is like, okay, go right. That's whenever we have a tendency to become anxious and, right, and getting in our heads and overthinking. But we know at this point that we don't have to overthink. We don't have to become anxious. Why? Because we're following this voice. This voice is guiding us. This voice will never lead us astray, right? And sometimes we just have to go down a path because there are lessons down that path that we need to learn. And these lessons that we pick up while we're going down that path are going to help us when we walk down the new path. The process of integration is going to be a little bit easier because I gained this lesson, and this lesson is helping me with the process of integration as I walk down this new path, right? So God is going to bless whichever decision you make. Just trust yourself and make the decision, right? Just trust your inner knowing and make the decision, because God is going to bless whatever decision you make, especially if you're making that decision from this space of awareness, right? Whichever decision you make is going to be blessed, right? Whichever decision you make is going to be blessed. God is going to bless whichever decision you make. You just have to make it. You just have to stop overthinking. Talking to myself, talking to you, talking to all of us. We just have to stop overthinking, and we have to make the decision. And we have to know that God is going to bless whichever decision we make, right? And here's the thing. The reason why these options are in front of you and why you have some choices is because there's an aspect of yourself that has already gone through this process, right? There's an aspect of yourself that has already gone through this process. There's an aspect of yourself that has already gone through this process. And so now you're just making the decisions, taking the steps to live out that process in real time. So the key here is to just have fun, right? To just have fun. To allow yourself to just have fun. Trust the process and have fun in the process. Have fun. Allow this inner joy to come up as you're moving throughout the process, right? Because everything's okay. It's all working out in your favor, right? It's all working out in your favor. It has already worked out in your favor. So that's that. Thank you for listening to this. Because again, it was totally for me, but it was also a share, something that I needed to share. And, so as just thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any thoughts, comments, anything to say, make sure you leave it in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I love you all so much. I will see you next time.